Let's see, Pharmacist Ben. We're always dealing with technical difficulty.
I had a bunch on my last show. I had a bunch.
So it's you. You're the common denominator.
I guess it might be me.
We figured it out.
What is going on your end with this?
Well, we are live now. We
live.
are on, and the world is hearing our conversation.
The world's listening to us. But we're going to do all questions today.
Yeah, we're going to do mostly questions. Hey, folks, welcome to Pharmacist Ben's Bytes. And we're all here hoping that you are with us and ready to rock and roll with us tonight. And Pharmacist Ben.
Yes, sir. I can't figure out why this piece of hair is sticking up, but that's okay.
I think you had that. You're part Arthur Fonzarelli or something.
Is that what I am?
Yeah.
Like
I think you got it. I think Ralph Mouth was my favorite out of that bunch.
I hung out with Potsy for a while.
Did you really?
Williams. He was at a trade show I was at, and I was right next to him. My booth was next to his booth, and we just started talking. We hit it off, and we ended up spending the week, hanging out for the weekend together. We went we went out. Me and Potsy. He's a nice guy, Anson Williams. I wonder who he is.
Anson Williams, that's right. I remember that name. Yeah. I can't believe Pharmacist Ben is friends with
Potsy. I never saw him again though.
Yeah, well,
we hung out. We were besties for a weekend.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, maybe
he's listening.
Maybe he followed your career.
Maybe he didn't have much of a career. There's nothing for me to follow for him. After I forgot what he was selling. He was selling some kind of kitchen things. I don't remember what he was selling exactly, but he was a nice guy. He was really nice guy.
I hope he got a good residual check from that.
I'm sure he did. It's still on.
Yeah,
it's still on. You said you liked Ralph Mouth?
Ralph Mouth.
Ralph Mouth.
He was a smart aleck,
Ralphie. Hey, what did you do for World Menopause Day?
It's funny you should say that because
celebrate.
I did not properly celebrate, but I did feel the number of questions about menopause.
Menopause. That's called andropause.
Andropause. Absolutely. I think that some of the gentlemen were a little.
To treat andropause effectively, you got to do a lot of the same things that you do to treat menopause effectively. And that's kind of a really interesting point, AJ, and for everybody listening. We're always saying how, there's just a few things that go wrong in the body. You got all these health challenges, these fruits, as we call them, and it's all about the roots. Same thing with menopause and andropause. What do you think you do for menopause and andropause? The same thing you do for everything else. You clean the blood, you lower the blood sugar, you deal with toxicity that's getting into the bloodstream through a leaky gut, address dysbiosis, support digestive health in general, especially around the gallbladder and bile and the intestine. And then you, if you want to go to the third point of the triangle of disease, you calm the body down. Many of the signs that we hate, that men hate and women hate, that are associated with menopause are rev you up signs, anxiety and sleeplessness or insomnia, jitteriness and night sweats and hot flashes. These are all signs of a revved up emergency nervous system. The body's revved up. It's in high gear. So what do you think you want to do if you have symptoms like hot flashes or night sweats or insomnia that are the end result of things being revved up, which comes from estrogen, a hormonal issue, as well as blood sugar issues and cortisol? What do you think the strategy would be? Calm everything down. Okay, how do you calm everything down? Oxygen, make sure you're breathing correctly. And I was just talking on my last show about how the exhalation part of the respiratory cycle being inhale and exhale, is the key to relaxation. So learning to leverage the exhalation response, blowing off carbon dioxide. And when you blow off carbon dioxide, you're also blowing off toxicity. And you're supporting oxygenation for the next half of the respiratory cycle, which is inhalation. The more effective your exhalation is going to be, the more effective your inhalation is going to be. And by the way, vice versa. And then, of course, keeping the blood clean, especially of sugar. I always make a joke about it, but it's it's not hysterically funny, but it's true. What do women love to eat and drink when they're going through the change, menopause?
Red wine.
Wine and cheese, red wine and cheese, which are high in tannins, also sugar, also tyramines, histamine in the cheese. All of these things are known to cause things like hot flashes and night sweats and jitteriness and anxiety. And so lay off the wine and cheese, but you can't really tell people that. Nobody wants to lay off the wine and cheese. People love their wine and cheese. So at least after your wine and cheese, get yourself on the Healthy Start Pack, Beyond Tangy, or the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, I should say. Beyond Tangy Tangerine, Sweeties, Ultimate Niacin, and your Ultimate EFA. And Ultimate EFAs are non-negotiable for menopausal symptoms. They are an absolute must. And not just for menopausal issues, but all female hormonal issues. Essential fatty acids act like a natural form of estrogen. They're not as potent as estrogen, but they have those kinds of properties. There's a really neat paper that I read, right? And it's one of my favorite papers I read about 10 or 15 years ago. If anybody wants a copy of it, they should send me an email about how essential fatty acids can act like statin drugs. They can act like estrogen. What else did they say in this article? I forgot. But estrogen and statin drugs are the two things that caught my attention. So make sure you're getting on your essential fatty acids, particularly if you're dealing with dry skin. Essential fatty acids are almost like a remedy for dry skin. There's other things you have to do too, but essential fatty acids are incredibly important for the fats that support the health of the stratum corneum, the barrier. By the way, dry skin is a very interesting issue. Have we talked about dry skin?
Once before.
Remember the cause of dry skin?
Oh, well, besides the lack of essential fatty acids?
Besides the lack of essential fatty acids, yes, sir. Besides that lack.
I'm not sure.
I'll tell you. I'll bet nobody has ever heard of this, what I'm about to say. But I'll tell you this. First of all, do little kids have dry skin? No.
No, I'm
not. Dry skin. Little kids don't have dry skin typically. Teenagers don't have dry skin typically. It's degenerative. It gets worse as we get older. Not only does dry skin get worse as we get older, but if you have diabetes, dysglycemia, we'll say, you can have some severely dry skin. And diabetic skin is notoriously dry, especially on your feet, on the extremities, feet and hands. So what is that telling us? When dry skin is a degenerative condition, when dry skin is more dramatic, the incidences of dry skin and the appearance of dry skin and the symptoms associated with dry skin are more dramatic when you have dysglycemia. What is that telling us? It tells us that dry skin is a blood issue. Dry skin is the end result of blood that's not circulating effectively. Under ordinary circumstances, when we're healthy, the blood circulates through the body and it comes to the skin and it comes to these tiny little blood vessels, microscopic blood vessels, capillaries, right? And as the blood enters into the capillaries, water comes out. Water comes out of the capillaries and then it gets sucked up into the skin. And that's what's supposed to happen when we're healthy. However, over the course of time, as our body degenerates, and especially when people have dysglycemia or messed up blood sugar, what happens to the blood? It becomes hypercoagulable, viscous, sticky. It doesn't circulate as effectively. And when the blood doesn't circulate as effectively, it doesn't make it to the extremity, or it doesn't make it to the outside part, the skin, the frontier. There's no source of moisture. There's no source of water. And we, in our craziness as a culture, and the advice that we get from our opinion leaders and healthcare professionals is just to rub something on the surface of the skin. That's not going to help. And that's why in this country, we sell $10 billion a year in moisturizing creams and lotions and such, and everybody has dry skin. When I worked for Blistex, when I was in pharmacy school, I worked for Blistex. That's how I learned about the skin. Is that Blistex? You know what? I think that may be one of the products I formulated. Now, when I worked for Blistex in the 80s, believe it or not, there were only 4 Blistex products. There was a little ball, a little tube, a little ointment, they called it, like a little tiny little tube. There was a chapstick kind of thing. There was a pot, Blistex pot. There are only 3 now that I think about it. And then now, if you look at a bunch of, go to the drugstore, the gas station, wherever they have Blistex, you'll see like 10 different formulations there. Those were all developed by me and a couple other people, and this guy Tony Jones, Dr. Tony Jones, who was the guy, the man, in the 1980s. So I know quite a bit about Blistex. And let me tell you something. When you use Blistex on your lips, or chapstick, or Carmex, or any kind of lip wax, you are assuring yourself, you're guaranteeing yourself that your lips will be dry forever. and as soon as that chapstick wears off, guess what you're going to be doing? You're going to be hunting for more chapstick, right? There are people that freak out when they can't find their chapstick. I know them, because the chapstick, chapstick is suppressing your natural moisture factors. You have natural moisture factors that trap water from the atmosphere in your lips. Your lips are sticking out, so they're subject to all these forces. The skin is subject to forces too, but more than the skin because they're sticking out. So nature has equipped the lips with lots of these moisture factors that suck water up out of the air and protect the lips. Well, guess what? When you put your chapstick on, that's called, by the way, when you cover tissue up with wax or with silicone or vegetable oils, that's called occlusion. occlusion. Have you heard that term, occlusion?
From you,
to occlude is to put a layer on the surface. And when you occlude the skin, you're occluding the skin. You put chapstick on, you're occluding the lips. All of this has a suppressant effect on chemistry. It down regulates skin chemistry. And so when you use your moisturizer and lotion on your skin, you think you're moisturized. You're not moisturized. You just got a layer of wax on your skin. But even worse, you're down regulating all of your natural moisture factors. When it happens on the lips, you've got to use chapstick every 15 minutes. When it happens on your body, you get incredibly dry. And that's why people become addicted to their moisturizing lotions and moisturizing creams. And that's why the more moisturizing lotions and creams we use, the drier our skin gets. So what do? Well, first of all, what did we just talk about? Essential fatty acids. Essential fatty acids are the raw materials for making moisture factors. Also, there's amino acids, particularly glutamine, for example. I think arginine is involved in there too, that help attract water. So make sure you're doing your TMR shake is another strategy. There's another molecule called phospholipids. Have you heard of phospholipids?
From you.
Right? Lecithin, which is in our ultimate enzymes. Phospholipids are a major component, not just of skin cells, but also of the barrier. They help keep the barrier strong. Also, there's anti-occlusion. Occlusion is when you cover things up, you put it all to sleep. Anti-occlusion is exfoliation. Exfoliation with either alpha hydroxy acids or loofah or pumice, to scrub away the dead skin cells off the surface. That's the exact opposite of occlusion. And like occlusion puts everything to sleep, it down regulates, exfoliation up regulates. And then, of course, because dry skin is initiated at the lower levels where the circulation is, the blood is, and the capillaries are, keep the blood moving. Make sure that the blood is fluid and it's not sticky. Clean the blood. And that's really everything. AJ, that's everything. Everything. I was just reading, I was going to read this to you guys. I was going to read this to you, AJ. You know what RLS is? Restless leg syndrome? Okay. This is from, what is this from? This is from, which, I in a retrospective study of 20,000 people. Restless legs, Parkinson's disease risk factor. RLS linked to Parkinson's disease. Here's another one. Metabolic syndrome raises the risk for Parkinson's disease. Hello? What are they telling us? It's all connected. Clean the blood. It's not one thing. Know this for that. It's a blood issue. Long-term health challenges are blood issues. They all involve blood that is not doing its duty, not delivering, not delivering nutrients, not oxygenating, not detoxifying. So keep the blood moving. How do you keep the blood moving? There's so many different ways. Number one, move your body. That'll move your blood. Slow, deep rhythmic breathing where you engage the diaphragm. That will help. Improve blood circulation. Hydration, especially first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning, the blood is especially thick and viscous. So first thing in the morning, and put some beyond Tangy Tangerine, because the more water you're drinking, the more likely you're going to be to become deficient in electrolytes and water-soluble nutrients. So when you drink water, put a little BTT in there. First thing in the morning. First thing in the morning, cold water with BTT. And then, of course, patch up a leaky gut and reduce your blood sugar and lower cortisol. What is that? Blood sugar or leaky gut, blood sugar, and cortisol. What do we got? Triangle of disease. Triangleofdisease.com. But we don't think of that with the skin. We don't think of internal strategies for taking care of the skin. Have you ever heard that the blood is responsible for skin moisture?
Only from you.
Right? Nobody's talking about that. Everybody's talking about, oh, I love this moisturizing cream. Use this moisturizer. My skin is nice and soft because I have this moisturizer. No. That's the worst thing you can put on your skin is a moisturizer on your dry skin. Unless you have eczema. If you have eczema or you have a burn, or if the stratum corneum, the barrier, the skin barrier is called the stratum corneum, is not forming correctly, then occlusion can be protective. And burns are also important. If you go to a burn ward, God forbid you should ever see a burn ward. They're horrible places. People have their skin is seriously occluded with Vaseline, big gobs of Vaseline all over your skin. But for normal, intact skin that's dry, you want to supplement. You want to use supplements, and you want to make sure that the blood circulation, is adequate, particularly to the extremities.
Pharmacist Ben, as you talk about the mechanism, you talk about the triangle of disease, dirty blood. You talk about the source being the gut, and some of the resulting hormonal changes in the adrenal thyroid axis. When you talk about these things,
listen to you. You're all over it. That's the triangle, man.
I learned from the best. But when you talk about this stuff, and I speak to clients and I try to enumerate what you've kind of taught me and, what I've researched as a result, because, I trust and verify. But then, I get a question like, how do I deal with my Graves' disease or my family's Graves' disease and TED, thyroid eye disease?
Okay.
And I try to talk about the mechanism, but it doesn't kind of land. Can you help us out?
It doesn't land. Okay. Well, first of all, the major cause of Graves' disease is the same as one of the major causes, maybe the major cause of Hashimoto's. Graves' disease is reverse Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's is hypothyroidism that's related to the immune system, autoimmune hypothyroidism. Graves' disease is autoimmune hyperthyroidism. And let me tell you something. Hypothyroidism, because the thyroid regulates everything, that's not a good thing. And all health challenges have an element of hypothyroidism. That's the third point in the triangle of disease. So it's a problem. But hyperthyroidism will make you miserable. It is unreal, because it's the hypothyroidism is when you're like nothing, everything's sluggish. Hyperthyroidism is when everything's moving, you're sweating, and you can't sleep, and you can't sit still, and your eyes pop out of your head, and your blood pressure gets high. It's the worst. It's agonizing. And guess what? There's this many things that can be done to reverse Graves' disease using standard medical protocols.
Is that 3 or 0?
Zero. What do? They radiate it. They kill it. That's the strategy.
There's one lady in December has an appointment where they're going to remove the thyroid.
Or they remove it. Yeah, that's right. They either poison it with a drug, or they radiate it, or they remove it entirely. It is the dumbest thing you can do for Graves' disease. And I hate that I have to talk to people who agree with me. I want to talk to a doctor. What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Well, I got a Porsche payment.
What's that? No, I don't want to go there. I don't think it's that. I hope it's not. I hope it's not that. to remove an organ, for portion payment. I think it's just ignorance. I think it's just they're not thinking. I don't know. I don't understand it. Graves' disease is an autoimmune disease. First of all, you don't take organs out of your body. That's not done. That's not a thing unless you have cancer. If cancer, you don't have a choice. I can see that. But just because you have a metabolic issue, you figure out the issue. You don't just remove the organ, especially the thyroid, which is a master gland that controls everything.
Pharmacist Ben, the metamelazole didn't work.
Metamelazole is a chemical. It poisons the thyroid chemically.
It didn't work, so they got to remove it.
It didn't work, so now they're going to take the thyroid out. All right, listen. Is she on the call?
She might be listening.
All right. If she's on this, or if she's out there, I'd love to talk to her. I might tell her how to take care of this. She can take care of it right away. She can take care of it from the comfort of her own living room and bathroom and kitchen. What is the cause of autoimmune diseases?
That is dirty blood, my friend.
Bingo. Clean the blood. If she were to fast, if this gal were to fast for one day, do you know what she would notice about her hyperthyroidism, about her Graves' disease?
Get a little bit better.
Within a day, the symptoms would begin to subside. Within a day. Let alone, now you can't fast forever, obviously. You got to eat. But this is just to show you the impact of what's getting into the system. There's a molecule. One of the links between intestinal health or dysbiosis, disturbed intestinal health, and dirty blood is little pieces of molecules that come off of bacterial membranes or walls. I don't know if it's wall or membrane, the outside part of the bacteria. These molecules are called LPSs, lipopolysaccharides, LPSs. And LPSs are the hidden cause of all kinds of inflammatory health challenges. All kinds of them. LPSs are major, not minor, major inflammatory molecules. Major. And anytime you have systemic inflammation, head to toe inflammation, you can rest assured you've got dirty blood that's secondary to stuff that's getting in the blood through leaky gut, including LPSs. That gal, if she would clean her blood, would notice symptomatic relief within a day. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I didn't get the answer to whether or not they had any recent injections.
Recent injections are going to complicate things because they make the blood, especially dirty. This, I don't want to even talk about that, but you know what I'm saying. The stuff that they give you in the injection, that is a major blood contaminant, and it's no accident that one of the adverse reactions that are associated with this condition, with the thing they injected, pericarditis, thrombosis, cardiomyopathy, heart attacks in young people.
These issues started in 2023, so I mean, it's kind of like there's all kinds of incidences of athletes in the prime of their life, dropping dead on the soccer field or on the basketball court, because you don't mess with the blood. But aside from that, LPSs, lipopolysaccharides, histamine, food particles, bacteria, immune particles, immune molecules, all kinds of stuff gets into the blood. And that's why it's just so darn important. But here's the thing. If it's all dirty blood, you could use this strategy for taking care of everything. And also cleaning the blood, cutting off the source of the toxicity by patching up the leaky gut's important. But also cleaning the blood, chelating the blood. Vitamin C is a chelator. Selenium is a chelator. MSM is a chelator. The ultimate MSM is a chelator. Methionine is has chelating properties. One of my favorite chelators is plant-derived minerals. Plant-derived minerals are natural blood cleansers. Nattokinase fucoid Z. That's another one. Fucoid Z, absolutely. There's nattokinase in this.
Nattokinase is in the nightly essence, exactly.
niacin plus as well.
Is it in there too?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, there you go. And then also, there's another one too, bromelain, ultimate enzymes on an empty stomach. There you go. Well, you got everything there. All our favorites.
I just got 2 boxes today.
You can even get some blood fluid. You can even improve blood fluidity. I wouldn't say chelating. You want to get chelating properties from it, but the glucogel caps will support blood fluidity. Vitamin E will support blood fluidity. The Fucoid Z is not only chelating, but it's also going to support fluidity.
Well,
so for people who are on that, they say take an aspirin, or even if they're on blood thinners, if you get on the Fucoid Z, your doctor will say, no, don't get on the Fucoid Z. It's going to interfere with your blood thinner. You say to the doctor, I think I'm going to get on the Fucoid Z. Why don't you lower the dose of my Eliquis, or lower the dose of my blood thinner so I can take the Fucoid Z? Because the Fucoid Z is not only non-toxic, and it's not only a blood thinner, but it will also act as a blood cleanser. Eliquis isn't going to cleanse your blood. Eliquis is going to force your blood to not clot. Fucoid Z will improve fluidity, reduce the viscosity and the coagulability of the blood, and it will also chelate toxins out of your blood. Do not underestimate the power of chelation therapy, not just for cleaning the blood. If you have an autoimmune disease, or you have some kind of toxicity, or dysglycemia or something, but just for longevity. Movie stars, actors, people have lots of disposable income who want to live a long life. They're all doing chelation therapy. And while it can be a little bit expensive to do it, full-blown chelation therapy with something called EDTA, which is what they do in chiropractors' offices and doctors' offices, you can use nutritional supplements to chelate, including, as I said, the plant-derived minerals.
Très intéressant, Pharmacist Ben. While you're talking about,
so is I'm sorry to interrupt you, AJ. Is the Graves' disease gal on the call?
I think that her and her friend who phoned in are watching on YouTube. And if Alex, if you're on, please send us a text so that we know that you're on, and Pharmacist Ben may be able to address you directly.
I would love that.
Otherwise, I will work with them for sure. I do have another question that came in regarding skin. What causes squamous cell carcinoma? It's on my left hand. I'm not the only one with skin problems. I don't use tanning beds. I'm seldom in the sun. If working outside, I wear gloves. What do you suggest investigating besides being frozen?
That's a great question. I love that question. Let me tell you why I love that question. Because the skin is on, I'm a skin guy, right? The skin's on the outside of the body. And we have this vision of the skin that comes from the 1900s, the early 1900s, and has not caught up to our understanding of the integrated nature of the body, how everything is put together. And in fact, it's not just the skin that has our understanding of the skin that is not caught up to the integrated nature of the body. Pretty much all of medicine hasn't come up with the integrative nature of the body, how everything's put together, and it's all one holistic whole. But the skin is especially, our misunderstanding of the skin is especially egregious, understandably, because it's on the outside of the body. So while, a case could be made for, why don't you know that the heart is connected to the spleen, is connected to the intestines, connected to the brain, they're all connected. A case can be made for that, for saying, why don't you understand that? And for a case can be made for attacking people, not attacking, but questioning people when they don't understand the link. With the skin, it's somewhat obvious that there's a separation. Not somewhat obvious, but it's somewhat apparent that there's a separation, right? Because it's on the outside. So logically, you say, okay, I got skin cancer. That's not an inside problem, right? You hear what I'm saying here, AJ? It's kind of like,
I can understand
why mindset, because it's on the outside. So it's kind of like, well, I got squamous cell carcinoma. What do? We don't see squamous cell or basal cell carcinoma as cancer. We see it as a skin problem. It's not a skin problem. It's cancer. It happens to be on the skin, but it's not a skin problem. And cancer of the pancreas is not a pancreas problem. Cancer of the liver is not a liver problem. You see where I'm going here?
You know what popped in my head, Pharmacist Ben? It may be the question is, well, it's on my hand. It's not throughout my body. Why did it appear on my hand? It must be because my
because
hand,
it's a hand issue. I got my hand was in soap. I washed my hand too much. My hand was in the sun. All that kind of stuff. No, you want to look at cancer as a cancer problem, not an organ problem. And I always say this in my talks, and just because I want to get people's attention, I say there's no such thing as breast cancer, right? There's no such thing as skin cancer. There's no such thing as liver cancer. There's no such thing as pancreas cancer. There's no such thing, or pancreatic cancer. There's no such thing as gallbladder cancer. Or prostate cancer, any other cancers. There's prostate cell cancer. There's gallbladder cell cancer. There's skin cell cancer. There's intestinal or colon cell cancer. Cell cancer, cell cancer. The organ doesn't matter. The organ doesn't matter. Now, there's things you can do for the skin to protect the skin that you can't do for other parts of the body because the skin's on the outside. But once you have cancer, it's cancer. It's not a skin problem. It's not a dermatological issue. It's an immune issue. Are you following me here, Mr. AJ? So Absolutely. What do you do? So I'll tell you what to do here in a second. But let me just explain the skin real quick. So the skin is stratified. It's layered, right? You got a top layer. You got layers underneath. And then you got a big layer in the bottom. So you got a big layer in the bottom. It's about 90% of your skin. That's called the dermis. There's blood there, and there's nerves there, and there's proteins there, and there's okay. That's what gives your skin the beefiness. You know how you look at a little kid, 4 or 5-year-old kid, and you just want to pinch his little cheeks. They're so beefy and squishy, right? And then you look at grandma, not so much. You know, not the same, right? What's the difference? That beefiness, that's the dermis. That's the underneath part, it's 90% of the skin. Then the dermis is covered with the epidermis. Epidermis means above the dermis, epidermis, right? The epidermis is made up of multiple layers, and then there's a tippy top layer. And this tippy top layer is about as thin as 1/10 of a piece of notebook paper. It's almost like a coating more than it is a layer of cells. It is cellular, but it's so thin that you could, if you compared it to the, if you did this by pieces of paper, the dermis is about 9 pieces of paper, the epidermis is about 1 piece of paper, and the very tippy top is a tenth of a piece of paper. That's how thin it is. And the way the system is designed is, believe it or not, we're held in place by that thin. Without that thin layer, you'd just be scattered everywhere. Your cells are held into place. Yeah, I'm exaggerating, but we're held intact by this thin layer. And this thin layer is very, very important. Nature has designed the thin layer to protect everything underneath. That thin layer is hard. And you can actually, you can see it in some people. You can see a waxy surface. You ever seen this on the surfaces of people's skin? Sometimes there's like a kind of waxy surface. That's the barrier. A healthy barrier will have that. Now, the way the system is designed is the living cells are underneath in the bottom of the epidermis, right? You have the dermis, epidermis, stratum corneum, barrier. The living cells are in the bottom of that epidermis. And those living cells rise to the top, and they will ultimately become the barrier as the old cells from the barrier flop off, and you get this constant recycling. And that's what assures a fresh barrier. As we age, by the way, that whole thing slows down. Occlusion, we talked about earlier, covering up the surface of the skin, that slows everything down. It's the exact opposite of what you want. You want to stimulate, not shut everything down. So here's where I'm going with this. The 2 bottom layers of the epidermis, they're called the basal layer, the base, and they're called the squamous layer. And when we have skin cancer, the only place you're going to have skin cancer is in the basal cell, the basal layer, and the squamous layer, because after that, the cells are dead. The only living cells in the skin are in the basal layer and in the squamous layer. After that, you're dealing with just carcasses, no more living cells. They're just shells. They're not cells. They still have stuff in them, but they're not functional. They're not metabolically active. So they're very functional. but they're not metabolically active. They're very important because they're what's going to create the hardness on the barrier. So for this gentleman with squamous cell carcinoma, which by the way is a serious form of skin cancer, more serious than basal cell, because the cells are kind of moving, you have to treat it as a metabolic issue. And that means biochemistry. It's not a skin problem. It's a biochemical problem. You understand? You see the distinction I'm making? It's not the organ, it's the chemistry. And how do we interact with the chemistry?
The blood.
The blood. Exactly, the blood. It's another example of a blood issue. So nobody just has skin cancer out of the blue or squamous cell carcinoma out of the blue. It builds up in a degenerative sense. The blood becomes sticky. It becomes sludgy. The cells on the extremities, on the frontiers, don't get oxygenated. Remember, the cells, the basal cells, in the epidermis and the squamous cells, they got to get oxygen and nutrition from the blood too. How are they getting oxygen and nutrition? From the blood. So the circulation, the blood circulation has to be effective enough so that nutrients and oxygen can get through. Think about where the epidermis is. It's not really, there's no blood in the epidermis. There's only blood in the dermis. So as we age and as we degenerate and as the accumulation of toxicity kicks in and as the accumulation of glycation, sugar burning, and elevated blood sugar kick in, and as we get our cortisol levels rise and we deal with vasoconstriction, all of these things start happening. Of course, the skin cells aren't going to get fed and oxygenated, and they're going to accumulate toxicity. It has nothing to do with sunscreens. It has nothing to do with a dermatological strategy. But that's all we do because we don't understand the skin as a culture. And our opinion leaders, they're just repeating what they heard in their schools and the same kind of mythologies that were initially perpetuated or initially inoculated into the culture by Helena Rubinstein, Estee Lauder, and Elizabeth Arden in 1906 and 1903 and 1910. And that's what we're doing. You know, all the things that people, you don't know this, I'll get you in a second here. You don't know this, AJ, but women out there know that there's all these ways of taking care of your skin. Oh, I have oily skin. I have dry skin. I have sensitive skin. I need an eye cream, or I need a neck cream, or I need a hand cream, or, you know, I need a special cream for this part and that part, and all that, all the ways we take care of the skin, you know, cleansing and toning and moisturizing. Where did that come from? Where do you think that came from? It came from these three ladies, you know, they were brilliant marketers, but they didn't know anything about skin. They turned skin from this. Before Helena Rubinstein, she was around 1910-ish or so. Before Helena Rubinstein, especially in Europe, not so much in the United States, but in Europe especially where she came from, all the families would make skincare products in their homes. And when they made skincare products, they didn't know anything about skin. They just wanted to make something to rub on your skin. So they were just as dumb as we are today. They thought they had dry skin, they'd rub something on. It was like tallow and wax and beeswax and borax and water, and mix them up and make their own family recipe. Well, Helena Rubinstein was from Poland, and her family had this family recipe. She came to Australia. She didn't really have money, and she figured she was going to start selling skincare products. Her family recipe in Australia. Then she moved to the UK, and she came up with this idea. Then she came to the United States, and then she had this idea. Check this out. This is so funny. She took her family recipe, which is just some crappy lanolin and beeswax and just some crappy thing. And she made up a story. She said it was invented by this Polish doctor who was a specialist, and he went to the Carpathian Mountains and he found herbs and he mixed it together. The same BS that we hear today. And she invented it. She was the first person to come up with that. And at the time, you know, skincare was, nobody thought of skincare, but movie stars were starting to get going, and Broadway stars and magazines were starting to get printed. And so there was a celebrity culture that was starting to evolve at the turn of the 20th century, at the beginning of the 20th century. It was kind of this aspirational idea. You know, they didn't have movie stars before 1920 and 1910. You know, when talkies came out in the early 1900s, that's when we started to aspire to be like celebrities. They didn't really have that before. As the media, the mass media got going, and simultaneously with the mass media, you had the Industrial Revolution, where for the first time in human history, you had more goods than you had people. All of a sudden, they could produce more things. So they had to have a way of selling those things. So guess what they invented? Marketing and advertising. And so between marketing and advertising and aspiration, celebrities trying to be like a celebrity, and our understanding of the mind, Sigmund Freud, he came up with the idea at the turn of the late 19th century. He came up with this idea that there were subconscious drives for buying things. Like we bought things for reasons we didn't know, or we did things. He didn't say we bought, we said we did things for a reason that we didn't know. And then it was a short jump to we're going to buy things for reasons we didn't know. So they started tapping into people's psyches. And so Helena Rubinstein, she started to dress up in a lab coat like she was a scientist. She was no scientist. She was a little old lady from Poland. She was no scientist, but she dressed up in a lab coat. And she had all of her cosmetologists dress up in lab coats. And they created this kind of experience around skincare. But they didn't know anything about cells. And they didn't know anything about biochemistry and hyaluronic acid in the blood and capillaries and the stratum corneum and the epidermis and the squamous cell and the basal cell and the fibroblast and all of the internal architecture, the internal components that made up the skin. She didn't know anything about that. And so we evolved this culture of skincare not being about the cell, not being about health, not being about the metabolism and the biochemistry of the skin, but about, oh, doesn't that feel good? Or, oh, doesn't that smell good? Or look at the package, or, look at the movie star who loves it. We developed this kind of culture around skincare that we don't do with very many other businesses, because for some reason, we don't treat the skin with the kind of seriousness that we should. We think the skin is just some kind of covering on the outside of the body. And so that's why I started Truth, because I was sick of it, all this BS, and I knew it from working for BlissStaps. The point being, for squamous cell carcinoma, to bring it back full circle, you do everything you do for any other kind of cancer. Cancer is a sign of cellular duress. It's a cell issue, and it's the end result of a cell that's been toxified, suffocated, and malnourished for so long that it doesn't know what else to do except become cancerous. Because when a cell becomes cancerous, a cancer cell doesn't have the same requirements as a skin cell or an organ cell. They call them good cells or eukaryotes. A cancer cell doesn't have anywhere the same needs, the same kind of oxygenation needs and energy needs that a good cell, a eukaryote, has. So it's a coping mechanism, really. A cancer cell is a cell that doesn't know what else to do. It's coping. It's dealing. So that's how you handle skin cancer or any other cancer.
The prokaryote. So like you.
Prokaryotes are the primitive cells. Yeah, those are the primitive cells.
We're running short on time, but since you're talking about skin on YouTube, Mr. T7, how about brown age spots? Any topicals or oral supplements worth trying?
Brown age spots?
Yes.
Yes, brown age spots. Now, there's two ways you can have age spots. Okay, so there's the pigment way, which is melanin, black pigment, dark pigment, and that's on the surface. You can see that on the surface. And melanin kind of rises to the top. Melanin pigment is stored in skin cells. It's made in pigment cells, melanocytes they call them, and then it's stored in skin cells, keratinocytes they call those. And as the skin cell is rising to the top, it's carrying its pigment with it. And so pigment, or you don't see pigment until it oxidizes, rusts. And the rusting of pigment usually is supposed to occur from the sun, but it can occur from cortisol or estrogen, or there are other stressors that can do it, insulin sometimes. So oxidation or rusting of melanin inappropriately occurs as we get older, or when you're on the birth control pill. If you're younger, sometimes that'll happen to you, or if you're on hormone replacement therapy. But typically, it's a sign of a hormonal imbalance, usually involving stress hormones, because pigmentation and stress go together in the body. The chemistry of pigmentation and the chemistry of stress are interrelated. So when the body's under duress, either literally or hormonally, there are signals of duress, that's when this condition of, they call it melasma or hyperpigmentation, will occur. That's one kind of pigmentation. And that requires one kind of a strategy for dealing with. But there's a second kind that sometimes people confuse with the first kind. The second kind of pigmentation is not quite black-brown. It's more yellowish. And that's what this gentleman said. And this yellowish color is the end result of cell debris, cell waste, old cell particles. Under ordinary conditions, when a cell dies, or when the components of a cell become excreted, they're not used, the body will drain them out through the lymph. That's what the lymph does, is it drains things out. It kind of gets rid of toxins. However, as we age, just like our blood becomes sluggish, guess what else becomes sluggish, which is an extension of the blood, is the lymph. The lymph is an extension of the blood. So when the lymph becomes sluggish, the particles, the dirt, the cellular debris will start to build up in the skin, and they'll get stored not just in the skin, in the brain, in the eyes, but we'll see it in the skin. They call that aging pigment. Not really a pigment. Melan's a pigment. I guess technically it's a pigment, but they call it aging pigment. And the technical name for the aging pigment is lipofuscin. Have you heard that term? Lipofuscin. So what this gentleman is talking about, or lady, was it a gentleman or lady, whoever asked that question.
Mr. T.
Mr. T, it sounded from his description that it's lipofuscin. Now you can tell the difference. It's a little hard to tell the difference, but lipofuscin's deeper. And because the skin is so thin anyway, it's kind of hard to tell when something's on the surface and when it's deeper, but you got to look at it. And also, ordinary pigment, melanin, you can slough it off. You can scrub it off eventually, and you can slough it off because it's in the dead skin cells. It's held in the dead skin cells. Lipofuscin, you can't do that with. So if it's melanin, you got some strategies. The number one strategy is exfoliation, or peel, skin peel. That's a good strategy to do it. Or you can use something called retinol, which you probably heard of, and that will lighten the skin. It also has anti-aging properties. Vitamin C can help lighten the skin. You can have lasers, dermaplaning. There's various procedures that they can do in an esthetician salon. That will get rid of the melanin. And then stabilizing stress hormones, estrogen, cortisol, especially, but also to a certain extent, thyroid hormone and insulin. Work on the hormones. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry, AJ.
You know, on my forehead last year when we were doing the show.
Melanin. That's probably melanin.
Well, on my forehead, I used to have these dark spots. I started using the liver tabs, and the spots went away.
Yeah, that could be that. I don't know this is just liver.
The liver tabs. Liver tabs are strong antioxidants. Whatever in here.
It's not just liver though. It's for the liver. It's not made.
Glutathione.
Glutathione. Yeah. Glutathione is that's one of the most important. That's interesting you said that. L-glutathione is well known for its skin lightening properties. You know why? Because glutathione is a very powerful anti-ruster antioxidant, that is. So yes, that makes sense. And glutathione is actually, there are topical products that have glutathione in them that are skin lightening products. It doesn't work so great topically, but yes, internally. And by the way, glutathione is one of the great underappreciated molecules in the body. For people who have cancer, our friend who has the squamous cell cancer, that's something you might want to think about. For people who have autoimmune diseases, for people who have Parkinson's disease, for people who have liver problems, glutathione, which is a tripeptide, three amino acids, including glutamine, cysteine, and glycine. These three amino acids are important for detoxification. They're our body's natural cancer fighters, our body's natural antioxidants. And you can make your own glutathione. It's probably the best way to get glutathione going is by making your own, by eating cruciferous vegetables, by using high protein foods like eggs and whey protein, TMR shake, for example, or what's the fit shake. That's a way to get it. Also, you can use one of the reasons why I love NAC so much is because it helps support the production of glutathione. The ultimate selenium is important, and the MSM, ultimate MSM, can also be helpful. And so building your own glutathione, vitamin C is important also. Building your own glutathione is a very important anti-aging, anti-cancer, anti-autoimmune, or immune boosting strategy. Also, you can get glutathione injection or intravenous glutathione. And people have Parkinson's. I saw this video once on YouTube of a guy who had Parkinson's disease. And you've seen Parkinson's, there's a walk, a Parkinson's gait, and the way Parkinsonian patients move their hands and such. And so they showed this Parkinson's guy, a Parkinson's patient, he was walking down a hallway and he had this Parkinson's gait and he was obviously distressed. And then they showed him the next day after a glutathione injection or IV glutathione. And it was amazing. It was dramatic what glutathione did for this guy's Parkinsonian symptoms. Glutathione is a panacea. It's good for everything. Now, you can't get glutathione by eating glutathione because it'll get broken down in your stomach. But you can get it IV, or you can build your own glutathione with a TMR shake and N-acetylcysteine and high protein containing foods, cruciferous vegetables, and all the other nutrients that we just talked about.
Pharmacist Ben, another question came in about plantar fasciitis. To try not to have surgery if possible, but at this point, you just need some relief. Anything I can do to help?
It's definitely pretty miserable. What I would do is I would do body work if you really want to get that done, because the bottom of the foot is tricky because it's hard not to put weight and to stress to put a burden on that area because you got to walk. Now, if you can get on a crutches, that can help. You give the tissue a chance to heal. Plantar fasciitis is an itis of the fascia, right? Itis means swelling, inflammation. It's an inflammation of the fascia in the plantar area, which is the bottom of your foot. What is the fascia?
Well, fascia is your connective tissue.
Bingo. It's inflamed connective tissue. Now, it's because the foot is how we walk is going to play a role in how well the connective tissue in the bottom of the foot is going to respond. It's a little trickier because it's not strictly metabolic. If you had a fasciitis in the inside of the body, you could say it's metabolic. It's biochemistry. It's still biochemical, but there's a confounding variable in the sense that you're walking on it. It could be how you're walking. So body work, it can be very helpful for plantar fasciitis. But you also want to make sure that you're taking care of your connective tissue. The connective tissue is the great dumping ground of blood toxins. And all the things that we talk about with dirty blood, the body will attempt to dump that stuff off in the connective tissue. The connective tissue is actually almost like a filter or a sieve for the blood. The blood is and the blood, by the way, is connective tissue. And the blood is winding through the fascia and the connective tissue, and the toxins are getting dumped off, or the connective tissue is filtering it. So you get back to your dirty blood. The whole issue with dirty blood. So clean the blood. Make sure that when we say clean the blood, from the intestine as well as for sugar. Toxins that come in from the intestine, as well as ketogenic diet, a low-carb diet, keep your sugar down. Glycation of connective tissue is one of the ways the connective tissue deteriorates. So if you're diabetic, or if you have high blood sugar, or if you're not taking care of your blood sugar metabolizing nutrients like chromium, vanadium, sweeties, etc., that's another strategy that you want to employ if this person really doesn't want to have surgery. And then also, nature's anti-inflammatories are your ultimate EFAs. So make sure you're using your ultimate EFAs. And then also, what I consider to be almost like a miracle product for inflamed connective tissue, typically for the joints, but also for fasciitis I, are the glucogel caps, which help you build connective tissue. Using bone soup to get all the cofactors that are involved with building connective tissue, and strictly for the pain, using your ultimate enzymes on an empty stomach. Those can sometimes help with arthritis, pain, connective tissue, the pain that's associated with inflamed connective tissue. And if you want to do something topically, and also for that matter internally, are CMO cream and CMO capsules, which we hardly ever talk about. Mm-hmm. CMO cream and CMO capsules. And I don't know if you know this, but Saturday, a new fucoid Z is going to be released with collagen. Did you hear this?
No way.
There's a new fucoid Z that's coming out.
Speaking of new,
Mm.
well,
I
before
want
I
to
go
talk about, I want to talk about hope.
before I go into hope, well, Yvonne mentioned that Dan is 27, 6'6", 200. Roommate got fiberglass on self from a weight ball. 6 days later, Dan starts to rash and itch. Finds fiberglass throughout the apartment. Advice to clean the
Oh
skin.
yeah, fiberglasses can be really nasty. It's because it's so tiny. Advice for cleaning the skin?
Anything to clean the skin in the apartment? I mean, I don't know if you have any
I
experience.
don't know about the apartment, but for the skin, something adhesive. Yeah, he got it all over his body, head to toe.
The roommate did, and now Dan's got the problem. So what do
Yeah,
you put some tape?
yeah, something adhesive will pull it out, but it'd be difficult to do head to toe. That's a
So
tricky one. I don't know how they would do that.
wrap his body in glue, and then
Yeah, wrap his body in something adhesive, but make sure he may only have it locally in small, not all over his body, but just small parts of his body, and then you would use adhesives. But head to toe is going to be tricky. I don't
wow,
think he has it head to toe. He can't have it every single part of his body because he's wearing clothes. How did they get it? What did you say?
a weight ball. Maybe the weight ball broke at the gym or something. I don't know.
I don't know. That's a little out of my. That's not out of my pay grade there. I don't know. I'm not sure he's that.
By the way, Yvonne is having a seminar on her microcurrent
Oh yeah.
on Saturday in I think she's in San Francisco area. I forget.
Oh, is she an esthetician?
She's not an esthetician, but she uses scalar waves and
Oh yeah.
microcurrents to get rid of scar tissue and
Nice.
to increase circulation throughout the body, etc. And she's one of us, and she
Nice.
so Vlad wants to know: can you repair the vessel in the eyes that were damaged from glaucoma?
And eyes that were like repair the what do you mean by the vessels, the blood vessels?
I'm gathering the blood
Blood
vessel.
vessels are they're very repairable. Blood vessels are repairable, absolutely.
I'm going to use what, collagen peptides, MSM.
Oh yeah, I forgot about collagen peptides. We were talking about what were we talking about? We said collagen when I was talking about plantar fasciitis. The collagen peptides can be helpful too. Yeah, collagen peptides definitely. Healthy bone and joint pack. It's funny because you wouldn't think the healthy bone and joint pack would help you with your eyes, right? I mean, it seems so different, bones and joints and eyes, but really, glaucoma, as we said before, involves a part of the eye that is basically connective tissue. You got connective tissue everywhere. Blood vessels are connective tissue. In fact, I'm going to do a talk tomorrow. I'm going to do a call tomorrow. My friend, you don't know this guy, but he's been a longevity guy for a long, long time. He's Ryan, really cool guy.
Ooh,
He does a lot.
Ryan
You know
Alexander,
Ryan? Yeah, you know him.
my man.
Yeah, okay, good. He asked me today about red spots on the skin.
Uh-huh.
Red spots in the skin, and that's the same idea. It's just connective tissue. So yes, healthy bone and joint pack. Eyes,
Okay,
repairing blood vessels is a connective tissue concern, and that will be the healthy bone and joint pack.
Mm-hmm. Pharmacist Ben.
Yes, it's past my bedtime, bro.
Wait, just a couple more seconds. For the folks.
We'll do
Carrie writes, got Graves' disease. Carrie, rewind the show. She's saying she wants to talk to Ben badly. Rewind the show, Carrie. And
is that the Graves' disease lady?
She's not the Graves' disease lady. She's another woman who also is dealing with that issue. And Carrie, write the number, the email address that's listed right on the bottom. Make sure you put your phone number in there. I'll do what I can, but Pharmacist Ben has taught us what to do, and
for the Graves' disease gal, she can always have her send you an email, and you and I, we can do a 3-way call.
Okay, Carrie, you heard him. Hold him to it. And Yvonne's event on Saturday is going to be in Sacramento, California.
Nice.
And if you want information on that, send an email to this. If you want to learn how to become a microcurrent specialist, email this. And Pharmacist Ben, I have a question for you before you depart. I know you got things to do like rest.
Yes.
there's this guy who I think came from Japan,
Okay.
and he's being called the greatest baseball player of
Oh,
all time.
Shohei.
And
Shohei.
I need to hear your opinion.
That guy's amazing. Oh my God.
Uh,
You know what? I can't. I mean, there's so many reasons why he's amazing. But I used to. I haven't done this for a while, but the last couple of years, I would listen to him hit the. Like I'd go on YouTube just to hear the sound of the bat hitting the ball hitting his bat, and he's the most amazing athlete. And if you watch him, do you know anything about baseball? Do you watch?
I know a little bit about baseball.
So part of hitting a ball is you got to kind of go back before you go forward. Like you get this kind of spring effect. And he does it with like 100-mile-an-hour fastball. While the ball's coming at him, he's going back and then forward. It's like the most incredible thing. He's incredible.
Well,
I don't want to,
is he the best of all time?
No, I don't know about he doesn't feel that great. I mean, he doesn't feel, I shouldn't say he doesn't feel that great. He probably could, but that's not his thing. He's not known for great fielding. He's not a five-tool guy. He's more of a freak.
Oh, but he pitches too.
Yeah, I know. That's right. That's why I say he's a freak. But he's not a five-tool player necessarily, I don't think. He doesn't have a great arm. So I know Willie Mays, a guy like that, I would consider to be the greatest player. So a guy who's got all five tools. But he's a freak because, who does that? Who hits 55 home runs, crushes them, not just hit them, crushes 55 home runs, and throws a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and this incredible curve that just drops and slider and sweeper, and got like 5 pitches that do this and this and this, and he got a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, 100 plus.
I was watching a video of him back in Japan hit the ball through the Tokyo Dome, through the ceiling out to Tokyo.
Through it. Yeah, through it. It is pretty amazing. There's no doubt about it. So.
All right.
When I think of the greatest, I think of people like Willie Mays could do everything. And so
you're not a West Coast guy.
No, he's amazing. He's amazing. There's no doubt about it. AJ, gotta go. I'll see you on Friday.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.
Wait.
I'm not gonna do it.
Goodbye, everybody. We will see you on Friday on Daily with Doc. Thanks, Pharmacist Ben.